About Russia, Prussia, France, Scotland, England. This organization is a corporation. Yes, you have an Anglican church here, but they weren't all Anglicans. What happened in the 1700s that changed the face of all humanity? When was the Gutenberg press come into play? The 1500s. Well, it's a machine. It can actually evolve. So by the 1700s, not only the Bible, but any book is mass produced. And what do Protestants do that Catholics and Orthodox don't do? They read the whole Bible. Protestants read word by word, line by line, page by page, paragraph by paragraph. And they discuss it, all right? So you've got Protestants in Europe for the first time. The Russian man, the Prussian man, the Scottish, the British, the French, reading the whole Bible. And they read something that woke them up to the importance of Israel. Who in the Bible is Israel? Who?
Jacob.
Exactly. Jacob. All right? Why did that matter? So for the Christians in here, where does your promise of a blessing originate? In Bereshit, in Genesis. God says a lot of promises to Abraham, renews them through Isaac and Jacob. Jacob is Israel. And these are promises are everlasting. But what does it say in Genesis 12? This is the whole mindset of why they came. That through the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the whole world would be blessed. But if God made everlasting promises to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Israel, and God's not faithful to Israel, what does that mean for the rest of Christendom? You're worshiping a God who's a liar. He promised. So these people in Europe, Tsar Alexander I of Russia, people from Posen, people from Scotland, people from England said, we actually believe God will be faithful and we want to help him out. So what happens if you've got a Scottish church, a guy from Posen, a guy from Russia, a guy from British, they come together and they want to go around the world and help God out in his plan of restoring Israel. What's going to happen if those people are successful? The Scottish bishop's going to go, well, that's our group. The British guy's going to go, that's our group, right? So these individuals, Tsar Alexander I, you had Wilberforce, you ever heard of him? You had the Barclay families, you had Lord Ashley. These individuals created a corporation to keep the theological organizations out of power. This is why this place is still here today. And how do we know? Because all these individual people came here. They were going to have a joint bishopric in 1846. And what happened? The organization said that bishopric joint will not work. And it didn't. It lasted about a half a day. So what do we see outside the walls? You have the Scottish Church. You have the Templars, the Germans. Prussia becomes Germany. You have the Russian compound. All the different theologians. You have the Anglican Church, St. George. They all left. All right. So this is a corporation of individuals who love the concept of the Bible. All right. So that's philo-Semitism. They love Israel. The name of the organization today is Churches Ministry Amongst the Jews. Why did they use churches in 1809 and not Christian? If you use the term Christian 200 years ago, what did you think of immediately? Catholic and Orthodox. Why did they use the word ministry as opposed to missionary? Besides being against the law, what does that word mean? Anybody know? To serve, mitzvot, to do good deeds. So Protestants, their churches, serving among the Jewish people. They went all over the world. Spain, Morocco, Africa, Ethiopia, Tunis, Iran, Iraq. There used to be 211 C&Js. Now, these people said God must be faithful to Israel. Even 130 years ago, how did the promises to Israel look? Use a strong word. How did it look? Impossible. There's no way a single people group, bloodline, ethnicity, religious group could be scattered across the world and come back together. It's never happened in human history. But if it doesn't happen, what does that mean for the Christians? They're worshiping a God who's a liar. All right? So they went everywhere. Then they came here in 1820. The first guys who came here, I circled on that picture a little tent out there. All right? Now, how did they get here? Are the Catholics and Orthodox going to help out a bunch of Protestants coming to Jerusalem in 1820?
No.
What about our Jewish community? Are we going to help them out?
Yes.
Exactly. All right. What about the Ottomans? Are they going to let some Protestants come marching into Jerusalem? Not going to happen. How'd they get here? They sent two guys to Jerusalem. We're in the Armenian quarter. And they asked the Armenians, can they put their tent up? All right, probably wasn't that tent. And the Armenians laughed. They said, yes, please put your tent up. Why did the Armenians let them do that in 1820?
They didn't think they were going to survive.
Exactly. Disease, poverty, pestilence, and earthquakes. There's no way they're going to survive. They said, please go ahead. Well, back then, these people had money, so they sent more people. And what's the first thing they're going to do to help serve all the people of Jerusalem?
Build a hospital.
They're going to build a hospital. This is what you're not taught, and you have to go research it. 1824, I will show you the building. It's in the back. The first modern medicine in Jerusalem since 2,000 years ago. Now, granted, Dr. George Dalton, he dies within the first 3 years because he travels from Beirut to Egypt to here. But they're packed with, everyone's coming to them. All right? But by 1842, you get George McGowan, starts the English Mission Hospital in the back. Now, Bobby, what's the rabbi going to do to you if you go to that hospital in 1824 with Christians?
I'd be okay if you needed.
I'll show you the documents all the way up to 1900. You won't be able to even be buried in a Jewish cemetery, and they'll chop you up unless they get a hold of your body. You would be ostracized 100%. You could, as a Jew, you could not do it. A Muslim either. You couldn't go there. All right? But if I've got a granddaughter and she's dying, maybe I send her there. And if I do, I would lose my home, whatever shelter I have no money. And as an Orthodox Jew, ultra-Orthodox Jew, 200 years ago, what do I not know how to do? If I pray all day long and study, what do I not do?
Live for myself or work
Can't
myself out.
Exactly. So where does the support come from? It comes from the diaspora. Everyone waited on their communities to support them here in Jerusalem, the holy city. All right? Now, so these people had Jews and Muslims coming here, and I'm going to prove it to you in just about 30 seconds. All right? They came here, but they would then be ostracized. Now, if these people gave them a home, they gave them clothes, and they gave them food, what does that look like they're doing? They're trying to buy their faith, right? And they're about serving, so they couldn't do that. They couldn't give them all this stuff. But you've got all these Jews and other people coming here. If they can't give them a home and food and clothing, what are they going to do with them? If they don't know how to work, what are you going to do? You can feed a man a fish, or you can teach him how to fish. All right, so here's the picture you want right here. All right, come look at the picture. In 1843, before Conrad Schick gets here, on this property, they started the olive wood industry. All right, so when did the olive wood industry start according to Hannah? Who started it? Started in Bethlehem and Nazareth by the French monks, right, in 1700? Well, I've got the article over there for the olive wood industry done by an Israeli Jew, and it's going to talk about that's the beginning, but it was the coloring, the tanning of the wood, not making these wood type of products. These guys from Europe are bringing over all of these tools to mass produce, and they are training all of these people. All right, this is in 1843. They had carpentry, shoemaking, stonemasonry. They had the bookbinding. The church building, the sanctuary that's out there, that's the first modern building in Jerusalem. Take a good look at that picture. All right. It was finished in 1848, consecrated in 1849. But who built the building? Who knew how to cut stone in Jerusalem 170 years ago?
German?
French.
In Jerusalem, who knew how to do it? Nobody knew how to do it. They had to import Maltese to come and cut the stone in Bethlehem and build it. When we look at the British consulate's house, many of the stones towards head high and down, they put a special waiver in it, the Maltese did, and it's one of the few places, if you find someplace else in Jerusalem with that special stone, please let us know. But this stonemasonry, this carpentry, shoemaking begins this restoration of people learning how to make a living for themselves. All right? Now, you remember I sent my granddaughter to that hospital? All right, she survived. Dr. Dalton saves her life. Where does she need to go every day?
School. Women.
What's the problem for women in the 19th century? There'll be no educating you used as women. All right, so what did these people do? 1847, on this property, they opened up their first secular education for Jewish girls. Math, science, reading, writing, and languages. Okay, now, these girls that were here in the 1930s and 40s, they're very old now. They went to school here. They're Israeli Jews and from other sects. They have an old school girls meeting. Some of them are in their 90s or maybe even over 100. And when they come here, they start crying. They bring their families. And we will ask them one simple question. What does the inside of the church look like? You know what their answer is? We don't know. We were never allowed to go in there. So again, trying to trick Jews into becoming Christians, that had to be something where you had to have 3 or 4 committees and the parents and the grandparents and all the relatives sign papers for them to do that. Were there Bible studies? Is this a Christian organization? Do they want to share Jesus, Yeshua with the world? Yes, that's their job. That's what they do, but that's not their primary purpose. So now you have hospitals, schools, and jobs. Most of these guys in this picture are not converts or Messianic Jews. They're Jews. And it's Friday afternoon, and they have been kicked out of their community. But where do they need to go to worship?
Synagogue.
Yes, but what's the problem if they were here? They were kicked out. So why does the church look like a synagogue? So these guys can pray if they wished. And the Messianic community that was beginning to build the identity crisis of does a Jew become a Christian? That gets into all those other issues. So we've got hospital, schools, and jobs. Now, it's 1850. Hospital, schools, and jobs. What's going to be the response of the Jewish community because we've got so many Jews being kicked out because they come here? Who do the rabbis write to? We've learned this already. Rothschild, right? Baron Rothschild. They write to him specifically about this organization. They said, you've got to come to Jerusalem and do something about these people because we're losing all of our Jews. Rothschild comes to Jerusalem. What's the first thing Rothschild does in response to this place? He builds a hospital by a Jew for Jews that the rabbi blessed. Where does he put the hospital? It connects to Dr. Dalton's office in the back, Bikor Holim Street. That is Bikor Holim, the place of visiting sick. That's built by Rothschild. Shirley probably will talk about it. All right? And then Rothschild gives money for hospitals and for schools and for jobs. What about the Catholics and Orthodox? How did they feel about Protestants and now the Jewish community with hospitals, schools, and jobs?
So
They're not very happy, but they can't do it inside the old city.
So they did it outside the
So
city.
what do the Russians do, Alex?
Russian
A
compound.
Russian compound. Prussia becomes Germany. You have the German colony. You have the Scottish church. You have the French outside of the building. I'm going into her territory. For the first time in 2,000 years, we're seeing the beginning of the restoration of Israel because these people had faith that he'd be faithful to his word.